Hello and welcome to the first of these 10-minute tutorials. So the idea of these is just to give you a little quick overview of some techniques and top tips that you might want to apply to different aspects of your university work, and leave you with hopefully some practical ideas. So the first thing that we're doing is this, which is time management, which might seem a little odd in the circumstances, but I think a lot of you are possibly now finding yourselves. Some of you will be at home with your children. Some of you will be in shared accommodation with people who may be unwell, or people who are working. At the moment, all our normal routines have completely disappeared, and this can make it very difficult for us to work out how we can carry on with our studying. So what I'm just going to go through here is a few ideas which might help you find a little time to undertake any work that you need to do. Just ideas that help you dig out those pieces of time where you can do some work. So the first idea I'm going to give you is routine. At the moment, obviously, we have probably fallen into different and new routines. We're doing things differently. We might find ourselves awake during what is usually the time we are asleep, and vice versa. And one of the key things about finding time to study in unusual circumstances is actually trying to maintain a routine. Some of the tips that I've heard from friends and colleagues, some people are on weekdays getting up as if they were going to work, possibly going for their morning exercise as if they were walking to work or travelling to work, sitting down and running their work day as they normally would, taking breaks and lunches and finishing at the time that they normally would. Now that is one idea, if that's a possibility for you. So you could look at your university timetable and what it should be. And obviously many of you still have online lectures and online tutorials running. So get out your calendar, have a look at what's going on, and take a weekly planner and write into your weekly planner all the things that are happening. So if there's going to be an online lecture, or if one of your lecturers perhaps isn't doing a live online lecture but has provided you with some PowerPoint slides with a voiceover such as this to substitute for the lecture, write that in and use the time where you would have usually attended the lecture to actually undertake that activity. So go through each day and write down all the things that you have got coming up in relation to university study, but also write into your planner other things that you might be wanting to do. Obviously we're a little bit constricted at the moment, but you might want to actually start planning out times. If you're watching a box set, you might put in an hour for watching the next episode. Possibly if you are using this opportunity to brush up on your cooking skills, or you're using the opportunity to learn the oboe, write those things in. What I'm basically suggesting is you use your framework of your university day and the resources that you'll be given by your lecturers to map out your week, your days and your week. I'd only do this on a weekly basis. And then within that, what you're going to see are little pockets of time evolving. Once you've seen your week, you've got a plan. And as you see the time evolving, time outside the work that you've been given to do from the university, lectures, online tutorials, etc. Once you've put into your planning things that you want to do, when you start seeing those pockets of time evolve, these are times then you could then label in relation to possible online reading for an assignment, or possible writing task for your dissertation. But the very important thing to do here is to name your time blocks. What we tend to do is we tend to say, oh, I am going to study, or I'm going to read. And these are very non-specific terms. And what that means is when we sit down to do that work, we're going to read, we end up spending a lot of time wondering what to read. We sort of fritter away the time because we're not being very specific. So what you need to apply to these time blocks that you are allocating for study is a very clear guideline to yourself, which requires a little thought. So if you've already collected the books for an assignment or a particular part of your dissertation, and you find that, on a Tuesday evening you're going to allocate, an hour and a half to your studying, write in there, read these papers, read 3 papers on that I downloaded yesterday. Be very specific so that when you do sit down, you know exactly what you're going to do. It's rather the same way as thinking about watching the next episode of a box set. Oh, I'm up to episode 3. And that's planned out for us. We're applying the same principle to our own time here. Okay, I know episode 3 is next. Okay, what I need to do now is read that for that particular assignment. Or what I need to do now is I've finished the reading, I need to, write an initial plan. Or what I need to do is, work on a couple of the body paragraphs. So what I'm suggesting is sit down, write down all the days of the week, or it's time to go into the drawers, all those planners that you got given for Christmas that you lashed in the drawer and didn't bother looking at. Time to get them out, or time to look at the free apps on your phones or your tablets and so on that you've never really looked at before. Obviously you've got an Outlook calendar with your university account, but to use that to organise yourself. And I don't just mean filling it all with study. I mean look analytically at your week and fit in blocks of time with specific labels so that when you move through your day, you've got a plan. Now, obviously, if you're sitting there at home with 3 kids that you're supposed to be homeschooling, you might be completely self-isolating and worried about getting food and so on and so forth. I'm not trying to be patronising in relation to this, and I understand that many of you have got other stresses. You might have partners who are still having to work, people that you're supporting, working on the front line of this situation. We might be feeling unwell ourselves. Obviously, if we're feeling unwell, don't do anything. Take time to recover. And times like this, we might feel anxious, and that can prevent us working as well. So we need to be kind to ourselves. We need to create routines as far as possible, but we also need to be realistic about what we can achieve. So one way of doing that is also to use the university information. Have a look. We've been bombarded recently with emails and information. Go back through your emails and write down on your planners and calendars, possibly, if deadlines have been moved. Really look at the information that you've been sent so you can have a clear, organised end point to what you're doing. So if you've got a piece of work that's been moved, deadline's been moved back, write that down, make yourself aware of what's going on. And, try as far as possible to build up a routine which has, in relation to studying, has specific, clear points for yourself so you know where you're going. So really this is about planning. Make sure that you are planning, that you think about your days. Again, something you might want to do if you are at home with kids, you could do this to see, on a Sunday evening, or every night. You could work out with the kids. It could be a way of spending, 40 minutes or so planning out what we're all going to do the next day, what maybe we're going to have for breakfast, then what we're going to do. And then you could use that routine to organise the day. And if everybody's involved in it, they may be more likely to keep to it. Obviously, we're going to have good days and we're going to have bad days. And we need to not worry too much about sticking to our plans if we are having a bad day. But what we can do is not beat ourselves up about that, but just come back to the planning the next day. So you might want to do this yourself if you're just sitting at home in the evening. Maybe that'll give yourself a half-hour planning. What am I going to do tomorrow? Try and give yourself aims as far as you are able to cope with, and some of those aims relate them to your studying, so you know that every day you have allocated some time for your university studies. And then obviously if the time comes around and other things have happened, don't beat yourself up, but do the same thing the following day. And as long as you're building in those times, some of the days you will be able to do the work. And as long as you're doing something specific rather than just saying, I am doing my work, we're going to be able to move forward much more coherently. So, you know, if you're worrying, thinking, what shall I do? Have a look at the assignments you've got. Have a look at, you know, information on the academic skills module about how you plan your time. Generally think about what needs doing. And then finally, review. What's working well, what isn't working well. Don't you set yourself rigid plans, which then you find every single day you can't keep. Have a look back. Oh, right, I always thought I was going to study in the evening. That wasn't possible. I'll shift it to the morning. Oh, right, I thought I was going to read for that assignment, but I didn't actually have enough reading. At the end of each session, at the end of each day, review how your planning for that day went, and then shift it around for the following day. So, at the end of this, I'm going to put some links to, give you some practical ideas about how to apply some of the ideas I've just spoken about. Okay, I hope you found this helpful. Thank you. Bye.